1,000 council jobs are to go over the next 18 months. We'll tell you where and why in just a moment. Hello and welcome to ITV News Central. Tonight's main stories. Fury from the unions as Wolverhampton City Council cut 1,000 jobs.
I'm shocked and I'm quite angry with the short notice, 24-hour notice of this very large-scale redundancy. It's terrible for Wolverhampton.
London's only black cab maker gets back to business in Coventry and doubles its production.
The hidden heritage behind one of the world's oldest photography firms.
And is this the new Rocky Horror Show? The actor bringing his one-man show to the stage.
Good evening. Workers at Wolverhampton City Council have been told 1,000 jobs will go over the next 18 months.
It's because the council need to save £89 million by 2019. Staff were invited to meetings today where they were given the bad news. Stacey Foster reports.
Wanting to hear the news for themselves, hundreds of council staff attended meetings today at the Civic Hall in Wolverhampton to be told 1 in 6 of them will be made redundant. 1,000 jobs will go over the next 18 months and services will be cut or lost completely.
I'm 59 now. I don't think if I make redundant, I'm not going to find another job.
You used to think a job's for life when you was at the council, and nowadays it's not the case, is it?
Not angry. It's obviously disappointing that it's come to this.
The council need to save £89 million over the next 5 years, which accounts for a quarter of their budget.
This is really desperate times and desperate measures. Wolverhampton's population has gone up from 237,000 in 2001 to 251,000 this year, and it's continuing to rise. So that means you've got more young people, more people who need nursery education, more looked after children, and at the same time increasing numbers of elderly people requiring adult care. The vast majority of the City Council's budget goes on those two areas, support for children and support for adults. So we're being hit by a real double whammy, cuts in government grant plus increases in demand for services and increasing costs.
Unison, which represents some of the 6,000 staff, say they weren't consulted about the announcement.
Shocked and I'm quite angry with the short notice, 24-hour notice of this very large-scale redundancy. It's terrible for Wolverhampton. We need to sit down and we need to talk to the councillors and we need to speak to them about what their plans are. We need to be in negotiations with them. We need to talk to them.
It's unclear where the axe will fall, but as work carries on as normal inside the civic offices today, consultation begins almost immediately with staff wanting to take voluntary redundancy. All this as work starts to spend £15 million on renovating the civic offices to bring all remaining workers into one building, something the council say will save them money in the long run, but unions say will be hard for the workers inside to understand. Stacey Foster, ITV News, Wolverhampton.
A mother who suffered life-changing injuries after giving birth at Stafford Hospital has received a 6-figure payout. Doctors failed to spot the damage to Candy Kaya's bladder during a caesarean section.
It was left untreated for 6 days, which led to infection and caused her bowel to rupture. It's left her in constant pain and unable to work. Lee Comley reports.
The birth of Candy Kaya's 4th child back in 2008 was always going to be life-changing. Unfortunately, due to the lack of care of those at the hospital, it's changed in ways she never would have imagined. Candy underwent a planned caesarean in June 2008 with her 4th child, her daughter Hanny. When she woke up, she realised something was wrong.
I was in lots of pain, and it was noticed that there was some blood in the catheter. So they said that they were just going to keep an eye on it. But it was 6 days later when they found out that my bladder was ruptured and the bowel, the large bowel, had basically rotted.
It left her with a range of complications and she needed several other operations and treatments. She was left unable to care for her new baby and it's left her unable to work. It's taken 5 years to get this 6-figure payout.
Candy's gone from somebody who was a full-time mum but who was also working and was involved in a family business, and the consequences of this are that she's not able to work and that she needs help. Her life has been devastated by this. What she hopes is that by telling people what's happened and by being open about what's happened to her, that lessons are learned.
The Mid Staffordshire NHS Foundation Trust has apologised, saying, "I would like to apologise again to Miss Kaya and reiterate that we are committed to taking action to improve our practices where incidents such as this occur." 5 years later, and a full payout and apology. Candy says the money will help support her children, and she just hopes that lessons have been learned. Lee Comley, ITV News.
The production lines which make the London black cab restarted today, 6 months after the firm collapsed and was bought by a Chinese car giant.
And some of the workers who were made redundant are back to their old jobs at a factory in Coventry. Our business correspondent Mark Goff reports.
When the London taxi company collapsed, many thought they'd never see another black cab roll off the production line, let alone the first cab in a new era. Today, the boss of the Chinese firm Geely, which bought London Taxi Company 6 months ago, and Business Secretary Vince Cable officially got production going again at the factory in Coventry. And back on the lines, some of the men who were made redundant. They got the call, come back to work. So what was it like then when you lost your job? I mean, how worried were you?
It was a real shock to the system after working at LTC for 18 years.
I'm sure you had a mortgage and things like that?
Yeah, getting to know people. I've got a young family as well. It was a real shock to the system.
And you found a job, but you didn't like that, so you came back?
I was fortunate that I was able to find a job within quite a short time, within 3 weeks. But I wasn't as happy in that job as I was at LTC.
How do you feel about the future now?
I think at the moment now the future is very, very good.
I was on holiday when I was made redundant. I was in Malta at the time, so I didn't really get any clarification until I come back. I'm helping just to keep the quality controls in place and help the new people come back in, make them aware of what the quality standards are and how to go about it, how to report it, and try and get everybody working as normal.
When the firm was in trouble, the workers and their union Unite sought support from London's cabbies, and the Chinese think British manufacturing is worth investing in.
Yes, absolutely, and we, in a way, we put ourselves down too much. The British manufacturing industry, at its best, is amongst the best in the world.
The last time this production line was really fully up and running was back in 2011. Then they made 1,200 cars a year. In the next 12 months, they say they're going to make 2,000 cars a year. That is just the start. Mark Goff, ITV News, Coventry.
Plans to redevelop the area around Leicester's indoor market have been released by the City Council. These pictures show how it could look after the 1970s building is demolished. It includes an extension of the city's corn exchange looking out onto a new square, and it's hoped the space will become home to bars and restaurants. The council has applied for an extra £2 million of European funding, on top of the £7 million needed for the market revamp.
Well, phase 1 is already on site. We're replacing the grotty, the squalid 1970s building with somewhere that's much lighter, much more inviting and much more likely to be successful for the traders. That will be completed at the end of this year, and that immediately gives us the opportunity to move on site to demolish that grotty building and to create in its place a quality public space and a space where we can bring new life and new investment to the city.
Well, it was a busy day for the Mayor of Leicester, who helped unveil a plaque showing where King Richard III spent his last night in the city. The information board was put up on the former site of the Blue Boar Inn, which, fittingly, is now a Travelodge hotel. Panels are being placed around Leicester to complement a new guidebook explaining the last Plantagenet king's links to the city. Archaeologists found the monarch's remains underneath a council car park last year, but there is now a challenge in the High Court against his body being reinterred at Leicester Cathedral.
Hopefully, King Richard's remains will stay in Leicester. After all, he's been here for the last 528 years, and so it does seem slightly absurd to think in terms of moving him elsewhere now. I think Leicester is doing all it can, because, of course, various individuals in Leicester want to keep the King in the city, and they're doing all they can to that end. And hopefully this guide will at least make some small contribution to that. People can walk around the city, they can follow the guide, and they can look at all of these and, in a sense, I think, come away with a much more rounded view of him.
The controversial plan was to build a high-speed rail line linking the Midlands and London took another twist today. A new report concluded HS2 would have a significant impact on growth across the region. Well, Sam's been looking at the details of this latest report. Sam.
I have, Bob. And it seems a day never goes by when HS2 isn't in the news. Earlier this week, MPs on the Commons spending watchdog issued a scathing report warning of the dwindling benefits as the estimated £42 billion costs soared. Well, today the government hit back and the Prime Minister insisted there were huge benefits. It follows analysis by the accountants KPMG, which said that the country would receive a £15 billion a year boost from the proposed link. It said Birmingham could benefit by more than £3 billion a year, while Derby and Nottingham would benefit by £2.2 billion.
The main reason we need HS2 is a heart bypass for the clogged arteries of our transport system. It will lift the burden from our overcrowded system, because the point about High Speed 2 is that you won't have to travel on it to gain from it. The better transport systems and economic growth it will support. People who never use the new line will still gain from these more new services. For towns and cities up and down Britain, more room on our local trains, more spaces for direct services to London from places that can't get them today.
Well, as we know, the high-speed rail line is a hugely divisive issue. Many residents living along the proposed route, like these people who were demonstrating at the weekend, worry about the environmental impact and the destruction of their homes. Business leaders in the East and West Midlands have largely welcomed the plans. But today there were mixed views of the benefits to companies here from two engineering bosses in Birmingham.
If I get overseas customers come here for contract negotiation or to see and pass off equipment, they'll usually fly into Heathrow and we end up going down in a minibus or something to pick them up. Whereas if we had got good connectivity, High Speed 2 will provide so much more.
I've been here for 58 years. We don't travel anything like we used to in the old days. We use modern methods. We can use Skype, we use emails, we use telephones, we use video linking conferences. We don't do so much travelling, and no, we don't want to go to London. We want to fly out of Birmingham.
KPMG insists their analysis shows beyond reasonable doubt that HS2 will bring benefits many times the cost of the scheme. Critics say the report is expensive propaganda and is based on dodgy assumptions in the government's own business case. The arguments continue, and it is safe to assume that we've not heard the last of HS2. Bob.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Thank you, Sam. Now, it's being billed as a hedonistic weekend of history. That's the annual Heritage Open Days Festival, when hundreds of historical sites across the country open their doors to the public. Dozens of sites across the Midlands are taking part, and we'll be looking into a few of them over the next 3 evenings. Tonight, Callum Watkinson takes a look around a Victorian photography studio in Derby.
Everyone with a phone is a photographer in the internet age, but on Midland Road in Derby, www has meant something since 1867, when Walter William Winter built this studio. In the same premises, under the same name, his successors have been preserving special moments for the people of Derby for nearly 15 decades. In the firm's early days, the cameras were much larger. King Edward was a valued client. Images were taken on glass negatives and airbrushing was done by hand. For the 14-year-old apprentice, whose career began as the Second World War ended, 68 years capturing other people's memories in this building has left him with a few of his own.
It seemed to have an atmosphere, as simple as that, and although it was a big rambling place, it grows on you.
And a temp who arrived more than 20 years ago confirms the place has a habit of holding on to people.
I came as a Saturday girl back in 1990 and in 1991 was offered an apprenticeship and never left. It's a fantastic place. It's the fact that it's been around since 1867 and it's about having the history of families. Families keep coming back to us after generation after generation.
Today, storing pictures is a matter of megabytes on a hard drive. Back then, it required glass by the ton. When half the building was sold off, a priceless visual record was shattered.
The rear premises was demolished. I reckon on one wall alone I got something in the order of about 7 tons of glass. I mean, it was incredible. And all those negatives regrettably went there, but the history that went there was quite something.
But tens of thousands of negatives still survive, and staff here hope a lottery grant will enable them to preserve and catalogue what's left. If your family comes from Derby, it's possible some of your ancestors are gathering dust upon these shelves.
We get emails every week from people who are doing family history, researching their relatives, and they know that they've been photographed at Winters, and you know, they get in touch and say, have you got a photograph taken in the 1930s of great auntie whatever? And we probably have, but we don't know. So that would be nice if we could say yes to them, really.
It's been a very good life. I don't think you'll find probably anything similar to this. We've so much history here to just throw it away. Well, I'm grey-haired now, I think that to finish me off.
Though it's the history that makes it special, this company still does what it always has, and the changing face of Derby is reflected in the pictures they still take. Callum Watkinson, ITV News.
Fascinating find. And on tomorrow's programme, we go back in time 500 years as we visit an Elizabethan Guildhall and take a look at the incredible workmanship that went into making this historic gem. Where is it? Well, if you join us tomorrow, we will tell you more.
I think I know, but I'm not absolutely sure. No, I won't say. If you'd like to find out more about the Heritage Open Days, go to our website where you'll find a list of the places that are opening their doors this weekend. Log on to itv.com/central. All the information is there.
Well, it's time now for sport, and we've been following the progress, as of many of you, of the Paralympian Richard Whitehead as he runs 40 marathons in 40 days. Now, the athlete from Nottingham won gold at London 2012 and is hoping to raise £1 million for 2 charities, Sarcoma UK and Scope.
Well, tonight we can join Richard as he relaxes in his hotel room in Stratford, having completed his 27th marathon, starting the day in Solihull. Richard, how are you feeling?
Good evening, guys. Yeah, great. I've just ran 45 kilometres, so a little exhausted. Just relaxing at the moment. Yeah, reflecting on a great day of running. Really exciting today. I ran with Richie Neville from Five, some of my fellow colleagues from UK Athletics, some fun runners as well. It was a brilliant day of running.
Richard, well over halfway now. We think we said the 27th marathon, but is it getting just that little bit harder every time you run the next one?
Oh, if you would have spoke to my team this morning how I was feeling, I was awful. I was really struggling to get out of bed. Motivation was really low. I had to talk to myself really just to get to the start line. I had a lot of friends and colleagues at the start line that were wanting me to be obviously successful today. Had to really dig deep today and really work out what motivated me. And obviously the charities are there, and there's people that are a lot less fortunate than myself that I'm supporting with this challenge, and hopefully I don't have too many of those dark times, because today was really tough.
Because there are quite a few hills between Solihull and Stratford, aren't there?
Yeah, there's definitely some climbs. It's obviously tough running a flat marathon, a flat 26.2 marathon, but through the likes of Derby all the way down towards Stratford-on-Avon, we've had some really big climbs, and it's tough. It's tough running for 6 or 7 hours through some of these streets, but it's great coming into the Midlands. I was really fortunate to go through Nottingham. Virgin Media gave me a cheque of £30,000. That was great towards my grand total. That really motivates me, and some of the messages that I'm getting on social media are really motivating me to continue on this journey. Obviously I'm looking a bit like I do need a little bit of a rest, but I'm still battling on, and tomorrow is 12 days to go to Land's End.
Well, Richard, we know you scrub up well, don't worry, but you aren't leaving the Midlands. Where are you heading off to tomorrow?
Yeah, so the thing is about marathon running is I actually get up and I don't know where I am and where I'm going to. So I've got my route in front of me here. So Mickleton and then Treddington Primary I finish at tomorrow. So that'd be great. I know there's lots of children who'll be waiting at the finish to clap me in. I've got a 26-mile run to do. Obviously it's going to be tough, like everyone is. 40 marathons in 40 days isn't easy, and this is the biggest challenge of my life. But to be successful, I need to get you guys to be behind it and donate at the website richardwhiteheadrunsbritain.com. Get all your friends to donate. Get your mums and dads' mobiles. Text the text number. Just everybody needs to support it as best they can. Please, please, please.
We certainly will. Well, Mickleton, you're going through nice country tomorrow, Richard, but I've got to tell you, there are a few more hills around there. So good luck.
No.
Take care.
Yeah, thanks for your support. Thank you.
And we're all behind you. Thank you. Now, the ITV News continues with the national and international stories at 6:30. Here's a look at what's happening with Alistair Stewart.
The police watchdog probing the Hillsborough tragedy reveals even Liverpool fan statements may have been altered. In an update today, the IPCC said another 74 police officers may have changed their official stories as the families demand urgent action. President Obama tells the American people he's put a military strike against Syria on hold to give diplomacy a chance. And a boom in house prices and purchases prompts calls for a rethink on the government's Help to Buy programmes. Join Mary Nightingale and me at 6:30.
Now, a little-known one-man musical that some critics are tipping to be the next Rocky Horror Show is about to be staged in the Midlands before it opens on Broadway next year.
The lead role, in fact, all the roles in this production are played by a local performer who got into acting almost by accident. Andy Bevan has been to watch him rehearse.
Fire shot down from the sky and bolts like shining blades of a knife.
It's been likened to the Rocky Horror Show, but Hedwig and the Angry Inch is the complex, controversial, fictional story of an East German female singer who started life as a boy. It stars Coventry-born actor Nigel Francis, once a sports-mad teenager, but who got the acting bug from helping out at his mother's theatre school.
With all sort of theatre schools for kids, they're always short of boys. So my mum sort of said, would you come along and help? And I went along and loved it.
Since then, Nigel's career has taken him to stages on Broadway and in the West End, where he's worked with Kevin Spacey at the Old Vic. He now lives in Germany, where he moved a few years ago to be closer to his girlfriend.
I put on some makeup, turn up the 8-track.
Nigel first saw Hedwig on a home visit to Coventry and loved it. He's since performed it more than 50 times in Frankfurt.
Suddenly I'm Miss Farrah Fawcett from TV.
Now he's bringing the show to Birmingham and says it's much more than it seems to be on the surface.
It's not about a guy in drag, it's not. It's about a young man called Hansel Schmidt and his escape from the east side of the Berlin Wall during the Cold War, how he ended up living in America, divorced, penniless, and a woman.
A movie of the show, made in 2001, has become a cult hit in the US, with its creator John Cameron Mitchell in the title role and Boardwalk Empire star Michael Pitt as teen rocker Tommy Gnosis.
We were very happy.
Apart from Hedwig and Tommy, there are about 6 main characters in the story, but this is a one-man show, which means that Nigel is playing all the parts.
I do it by just physicality, changing voices, and that was the thing that sort of attracted me to it when I saw it originally in the theatre. You know, it's great to see this one actor just on stage suddenly becoming another character and taking on a different role.
And you're shining like the brightest star, the transmission on the midnight radio.
You can see Hedwig and the Angry Inch at the Old Joint Stock Theatre in Birmingham tomorrow, Friday and Saturday. Andy Bevan, ITV News.
Heading to America. Now, it's fair to say that we do like our curries here in the Midlands, and we think we make a pretty good one. But now cooking a curry has been introduced to the curriculum in one part of the region.
Yes, these special cookery lessons form part of the new Birmingham Baccalaureate, which aims to ensure the art of cooking the Balti is passed on to the next generation. They were devised by a group of teachers in 10 schools working with the Birmingham Balti Association.
The city, of course, is famous for this dish, which was devised almost 30 years ago and involves just one pot cooking method. Organisers hope by passing on these skills, they'll be able to improve the employment prospects for pupils.
The skills that they're sort of developing here are sort of, wide sector. They'll be able to use them anywhere they sort of go. I mean, working alongside as a team, listening skills, communicating with each other. That's all sort of necessary skills that you need in any sort of job.
The students are going to get an insight into what does it actually mean to run a business, and they'll understand about planning, about marketing, customer service, and all those skills which are linked into running a business, whether it's a Balti business or an engineering business or any other type of business in the city.
It has been an amazing experience. I mean, I didn't really want to go into become a chef, but it's definitely a good experience.
About getting young people the sorts of skills they need so that when industry talks about, look, they're able, they're academic, and now they actually have the things they need in order to be ready to be employed. We've got it.
And a useful life skill as well. And you can find out more about this on our website, including the history of Birmingham's Balti. That's at itv.com/central.
I thought you were going to say we're putting a recipe there, but that's for another programme. Let's have a look at the weather forecast. There's Lucy Kite.
Hello. Well, we love receiving your weather pictures. The email address for the weather desk is on screen, so do send us yours. We've got a great one tonight, taken by Steve Stain of the Red Arrows over Leicestershire. So thank you very much for that. It's not just the Red Arrows that are flying over the region. We've got some rain up there as well, and it's been spreading our way from the north through today. As you've probably noticed, it's making its way in a southerly direction, moving through our region. So a few more hours of rain to come, and then gradually it will ease. We'll just be left with 1 or 2 spots of light rain or drizzle. Lots of cloud cover overnight tonight. This doing us a favour, really, acting like a blanket. It won't be quite as chilly as last night. So we start tomorrow morning dry with some bright spells, some breaks in the cloud as we move through the day tomorrow. A much brighter picture and warmer temperatures too. Highs of 21 degrees Celsius. But you've probably noticed all this moving in from the west. Well, more rain is on the way for tomorrow night, and that sets the scene for for a wet Friday. We're going to see some heavy bursts of rain on Friday, and then that weather front bringing us the rain will hang around through the weekend. So a wet weekend to come. Not only that, it's going to feel a little bit cooler too on Saturday. And then we're going to throw in a strong wind on Sunday as well. So a bit of a wet washout weekend on the cards. Have a nice evening.
Now, in just a moment, the national and international news from ITV.
And I'll be back with an update at 10:30. For now, though, and from all the team here, have a very pleasant evening. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.